The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv. And it is, let's start off with the remembrance. Today is December 7th, the day that shall live in infamy, the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed by the Japanese. I know some of our younger generation is not too historically oriented, but the sacrifices made that really began our involvement in World War II were immense. I pulled a few stats, because I like stats. There were more than 24,000 killed at Pearl Harbor. That includes sailors, Marines, Army, and civilians, 1,000 wounded. And I found a couple of interesting things. There were 37 pairs of brothers or triplets that were on the Arizona. And of the 77, 62 were killed. 62 pairs or triplets were killed in it. Only one set of brothers survived, Kenneth and Russell Warner. And this is one I didn't know before. There was a father and son that were killed on the Arizona. Thomas and William Free were the only father and son, and they were killed. And there were, I think, of the 1,177 people on the Arizona, there's 1,102 that stayed on the Arizona. So only 75 got out. On December 6th, 2019, the last person to ever be buried in the Arizona. He was interred on December 6th, the day before. In 2019 was Lauren Bruner. He's going to be the last person ever put on because he was a survivor of the Arizona, and he'll be the last survivor buried at the Arizona because there were three others, and I don't know how many are still alive, but they have made other plans to be interred with their families, etc. But Mr. Bruner was he's going to be the last person that will put down in the Arizona. So
I was going to say, the Arizona is for the lack of a better expression, a living mausoleum.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say a living mausoleum is because it's opened as a national park or whatever, governed by the National Park Service.
It's a memorial, yeah.
Yep, but it's a memorial because they never went down to take the bodies out of the Arizona.
No, they remain there.
They remain there. So those sailors are still
Marines
and all those people that were on board the Arizona are still on board the Arizona.
Yep, they're still there.
They're still there, and they're never to be touched.
No.
And that's the thing, they're never to be touched. And I've heard people say, "Oh, well, I want to go diving down by there." You can't do any of that.
Yeah.
You can't do any.
You can't enter. They do dive on the Arizona, but those are people that are going there to look at the structural stuff.
Exactly.
You can't do a dive on the Arizona. You can't go into the compartments or try to get near that. That is obviously it's a national monument.
It's a sacred.
It
site.
is. It's a sacred place.
Yeah.
And if you go to Hawaii and you go to Oahu at the Arizona Memorial, a lot of people don't know it, but do not. If you're going to go there and you're going to go to the Arizona, because fundamentally the Arizona Memorial is the equivalent of the D-Day Flanders Fields, where all the men are buried at D-Day, in France. Mm-hmm. And the fact is that there's also the Punch Bowl Cemetery, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It overlooks. It's up on a hill. And you can look across the entire island of Hawaii and look at Diamond Head on the other side. And it's a it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and they got where a lot of the men who died there and also throughout the Second World War are interred, and they have all the Medal of Honor winners there with the Medal of Honor engraved in their tombstones. It's a very solemn and amazing place. So if you ever get to Honolulu, you don't just stop at the Arizona. Go to the Punch Bowl Cemetery. You'll be moved.
And again, this a lot of people think, oh, this is a vacation spot. This, so I don't need. No, when you go there, you have to show some reverence. You have to. I don't care what God you believe in, what your religious background is. You have to show some reverence because these are men who gave their lives for the freedom of our country.
Yep.
And our country has honored their gift, because that was a gift. They have honored their gift by, number one, making their home their mausoleum, and they've taken good care of it. And as you said, the only people that take dives around there are to check the structural integrity of the Arizona.
Yeah, that's extremely obviously. There's a great reverence there in the Punch Bowl Cemetery, as there is when you tour the burial sites, throughout the Second World War, especially the ones near the D-Day and during the D-Day invasion. It's if you ever saw that movie Private Ryan when they went back. When they went back to that, and it's it's a remembrance for you. People who don't know your history and don't appreciate how we got here, for you to be able to do, and do the things you do and not have any respect for the laws. It's something to go back and ponder on, because you didn't get the kind of freedom you got here because blood was not spilt for it, and all of those people in every war, but now obviously December 7th shall always be, and live in infamy. So just take a moment to think about that, because it's extremely important. Now we'll shift to our city again.
The top of the news.
The top of the news: 2 men dead in Fall River shooting, 2 women injured, and that's the headline, and right on the heels of we keep hearing that mantra, we're a safe city, everything's down. Well, look, before we even get into this, safety. See, this is the thing. They picked out we're down 35% in shootings or something, or bullets, or fired. The FBI doesn't care about that one little piece, because we can always find one piece that went down. Maybe we're down in jaywalking. But it's how a community feels about its own safety. And that's based on crime in its totality. All the crime. All the violent and property crime, which is the FBI stats. So when we come out number 1, it's a cause for concern. Because the people in this community, maybe not in your neighborhood, they know this. The city is not, they don't feel safe, and that's your primary duty as an official, to make this city safe for the people. I know we heard that the money train is bringing businesses down. I don't know how they're going to bring businesses down. Are they going to attach like a car for a new buffet restaurant or something like Golden Corral? Are they going to tow Golden Corral down here and drop it off somewhere in Fall River? You politicians are shameless. It's going to cure everything. This is another battleship and all the other panaceas we've had. It's people with money. If your people don't have money, you just admitted we have 63% of the people in this community that are poor. Businesses do not come to poor cities. That's why Newton has 10,000 businesses and Fall River has 5. It's because Newton, people have money to spend. And we see this stuff, shootings like this, and I heard that the mayor went down there.
Yes,
why?
he did. He
I guess it's because he's running for re-election. Now after 3 years, he's figured out that maybe, but that's optics. What is he going to do down there? And I got to give him credit. The reality is that, listen, he stayed out of it. The reality is this is a police matter. But as a mayor, he has a job not to go down there because the police are going to do their work. You're only going to get in the way. I'm going to get in the way. You're going to get in the way. Police have to do what their job. They know what they're doing. They're going to have people down there investigating. But you're the mayor. It's your job to communicate to the people what we're doing about the overall problem. And you never do that. We still don't know what happened with Malone. We still don't know what happened with a whole bunch of things. But this soft on crime posture you take and never addressing it, the ostrich approach, does not work. As a matter of fact, you and I both saw something on television.
Yes, we did.
It seems as though that kid who dragged and seriously injured a police officer with an ATV, and what did you do to him? Not much, right? What did they do to him? Not much. You know, he injured a police officer. Seriously. Did they lock him up and say, did our mayor get up and say, listen, this is not going to be tolerated in the city of Fall River. I'm not going to have the citizens or the police officers in jeopardy, and we will prosecute these people to the fullest extent of the law. Where was our council passing ordinances to confiscate these things? You can't ride your ATV again if when they grab you, they grabbed it and crushed it,
right,
like they do in Providence. No, soft on crime, like Gascon over there. Now Gascon's saying now that illegals are not going to be deported if they commit murder. No crime is going to be reported to ICE if it's an illegal. So if you're an American and you murder somebody,
you go to jail.
You'll go to jail. But if you're an illegal, they're going to figure out a way where you don't go to jail and you don't even get deported. So this is the insanity. But get back to that. That kid who did that, Cabral, I believe his name was.
Cabral his name, yes.
Was up in front of the judge again. He was part of that love triangle kidnapping slash, I didn't mean it, I don't want to press charges,
right.
Amber Alert circus. So here's a kid who demonstrated his total disregard for society and its laws by towing a police officer. Nothing happened to him of any consequence. So what is it? A month later, 2 months later, time flies, you're having fun, not even that. He's in court again, involved in another criminal activity.
This time they're going after him for everything.
Oh, this time.
This time they're going.
Oh, good. Now we didn't wait till he committed a murder.
Right. They're going after him for
there we go. Yeah. What lesson learned? Never. Never. The lesson is not going to be learned because
I think
our hands in your pocket, high-fiving mayor is not going to learn anything.
Well, I think one of the reasons why all of a sudden he's going to go and be charged with all of this is because this Amber Alert situation was a high-profile, really high-profile case. It had multiple cities involved, the state police,
helicopters.
You had helicopters, you had everything going. They must have spent $200,000 just on manpower and equipment.
And justifiably, let's make that clear to everybody out there. We totally agree with throwing every resource we have when there's a child endangered.
Yes, exactly.
Or even that perception.
Right.
But that's not the issue. The issue is this kid shouldn't have been on the street anyway.
Right, exactly. And it just doesn't, it's just a picture, a snapshot of what we're looking at in Fall River. And we see today, at 3 o'clock in the morning, shooting. We hear about shootings. It was at 3 a.m. The police department received a 911 call from somebody who said, my brother or something along that line is shooting his mother and his father. And according to reports, there's 2 dead, 2 injured and are in the hospital. No names have been released. And one of the people who are dead was the shooter who shot himself. So we won't have to worry about somebody else coming out and shooting. And there's no danger in the neighborhood, which they wanted to make very clear. But the only thing the mayor really had to say was Bank Street is normally a quiet neighborhood.
Oh, rose-colored glasses. That we got to call him I wonder if he's got, he doesn't wear glasses. I've never seen him
I've
with
never seen him
glasses.
wear glasses.
But I guess he keeps his rose-colored glasses for the situations like this. Everything is always, let's try to diminish the importance of this. And let me make it perfectly clear. Nobody is naive here. No police department, no city has no crime. You can't eliminate it. And apparently, from looking at this, and you shouldn't make assumptions, but apparently this guy might have some mental issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously. And crime is either, drug crime. There's always a reason for crime.
Right.
Crime will never go away, just like fires will never go away. But the way you minimize it is send out a message that if you commit a crime in this community, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they can say whatever they want about that not being a deterrent. It is. Because I've walked around a lot of places in this world outside the United States, large, huge cities that were safer than the United States cities. You know why? Because they don't take any crap over there.
That's right.
I walked around in Europe, I've walked around in other areas of the world where you walk around, you're fairly safe. I mean, you're never perfectly safe. Why? You get a lot, the German Polizei grab you. They're not worried about, hey, we might have a body cam to grab you by the neck, throw you in the car head first, and if they forget they open the window, you go through the window. And I saw that, and the thing is, but there is tremendous deterrent over there because of their judicial systems. I mean, you've seen that. Remember the old drug commercial, don't get busted outside the United States? If you're going to get locked up, Hal Holbrook.
Yep.
If you're going to get locked up in the United States, because you don't want to go to a Turkish prison.
And they made a movie about going to a Turkish prison.
That's right. And you don't want to go to an Indonesian prison.
That's right.
Or a Japanese prison or a prison in Europe or the Dominican Republic.
They're not like United States prisons.
So, listen, there's no excuse for this. There's no leadership in the mayor's office. The mayor and the city council should be sending out a strong message that, listen, we are working hard on putting a damper on crime in this city. And the police department deserves kudos. They're out there every day trying to keep a lid on this stuff. But the only way we're ever going to stop it is tell people, go somewhere else to sell your drugs. Go somewhere else if you want to have a gun. Because if you get grabbed in Fall River, we're going to make sure we prosecute you to the full extent of the law. And rather than being wokey, wrap everybody in cotton and forgive all the criminals and victimize all the law-abiding citizens, let's reinstitute with our legislature tough on crime legislation. You get busted for it. Remember I got a pretty good memory, but didn't we have a 1-year mandatory sentence for having an illegal gun?
Yes, we did. We used to have signs on the highway saying that.
That's right. But what happened to that?
Yeah.
Just like everything else, it's disappeared. We just mollycoddle everybody. And we got a guy that walked around, and he was in charge of discipline at Durfee. Yet he got elected one of the most popular people there. When have you ever seen anybody in charge of discipline get elected as popular? If you're the disciplinarian, they normally don't like you too much.
That's right.
So obviously, like you said, just his comment encapsulates it all. Oh, this is normally a quiet neighborhood. Duh. That doesn't make any difference. It's normally a quiet neighborhood. Even Chicago. I mean, I could walk in the south side of Chicago on a Wednesday morning and go, wow, there hasn't been a shooting in 3 hours. This is a pretty quiet neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Paul. The glass is never half full. If it's half full, he'll say it's overflowing. You've got to be objective. We've got crime. We've been you can't, I don't care. They try to explain it away. We've been #1 in crime 3 consecutive years. He's been in office 3 consecutive years, and he hasn't said a damn thing about how we're going to approach it. And I don't expect to eradicate crime, but I expect the mayor to tell the people of Fall River, listen, anybody that commits a crime in Fall River, we're going to curb stomp them.
It's not just our leadership here in the city, okay? You also have to look at the district attorney's office. They're not prosecuting some serious crimes, and then they go after a politician,
Oh, yeah.
okay? We're not going to dismiss those charges. We want to prosecute those charges. And don't get me wrong, I greatly appreciate the district attorney's office because a member of my family was raped, and they did everything to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. They did not let the perpetrator walk. I think he got 20 to 30 years.
Good.
So, and I mean, it wasn't anything to lollygag or, coddle him. They went after him. I mean, he stabbed a woman. He raped a woman. I mean, I saw the apartment that it occurred in, and it was a home invasion. There was blood on all the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the tables, blood everywhere. And it was traumatic. And the district attorney gave every single resource to the victim, to the victim's family, and helped them out throughout that whole process. And you know how they assess a victim witness fund in the courts? I actually saw it in use for the first time in my life. I always wondered where that money went. Now we know where it goes. But we need a DA who's going to be tough on crime.
We need justice equity. Serious crime should be treated seriously. You don't go after a political opponent with some trumped up charge and allow murderers and rapists. Just let's look at what San Francisco. San Francisco is the most beautiful city in the United States. I know you've been there, right?
Yeah, I've been there, yep.
So it was a gorgeous city. I haven't been there in a long, long time, and I don't
Fisherman's
ever plan.
Wharf, my best place to go.
I don't plan on ever going back there. But look what happened. You got your Nancy Pelosi's and stuff living on the outskirts in their gated communities, and nothing touches them. They allowed the city to completely turn into a toilet, a public toilet. They crap all over the streets. They urinate all over the streets. They shoot drugs all over the streets. And now they're bemoaning everything. You know, I saw a stat the other day that really amazed even me. And it's hard to amaze me with the way the stuff's going down in this country. When you look at what's happened in New York and in Chicago and in all these, where they just run into stores and just beat people up and rob everything. Do you know that that California has 40% of the homeless in the country?
I believe it.
That's a pretty big number.
I believe
when
it.
you think about, and granted, California is a very large state, but to have 40%, when you think about the homeless issues we have throughout this country, to have 40% of the homeless, and San Francisco now, because letting people just crap all over, forget it. Don't arrest them. Just let them live there. Let them put up a tent. Let them crap in the street. Let them accost tourists, and we lose our tourism business. So what's happened now? They're number one in the United States in per capita crime. They have more crime, and you see the crime that they show all the time in a New York subway, all the crime in Chicago, all the crime in L.A. San Francisco now has the highest per capita crime rate in the United States. A city that was rich, affluent, and beautiful. And this is what happens when they disregard the fact that we have laws and we're supposed to enforce those laws equally. You start making excuses for people and not dealing with them. And listen, I know a lot of these people don't belong in jail, but they belong getting psychological attention.
And
they
some services.
They have mental issues. We're going to spend millions of dollars giving these people needles and stuff. Spend it on creating rehab facilities for these people. If you're a criminal, you belong in jail. If you have a mental issue or an addiction issue, you belong in a facility. You don't belong living out on a street committing crimes to get your drug habit. And if you commit crimes just to get pocket money, you belong in jail. And as long as we have a man that apparently he makes Gascon look like a conservative. I mean, he just doesn't deal with. He doesn't want to deal with it. Everything out of his mouth is, well, it's only a quiet neighborhood. We don't have that many shootings. Oh, I don't really think it's that dangerous. Well, the FBI does, and the people do. You know, this total lack of leadership. I'm sorry. And you can say he's a nice guy all you want. That can be your opinion. Some people say that's not the real Paul. But, hey, you're entitled to that. But tell me that
We've seen both sides of the coin to Paul.
Go jump in a river, and, you live in public housing. You're a serf, and all the other things that he's done. And, but listen, that's irrelevant. You hire a plumber to fix your plumbing. You hire an electrician to fix your electricity. You hire a mechanic to fix your car. You hire a mayor to make this city livable and make it a better place for you to live in. Not just the rich people, but the average people in Fall River, who, by the way, again, in case you still haven't, you noticed that statistic enough to try to put better fire apparatus in the richest part of the community. But you didn't notice it enough to do something about the poverty with affordable housing. So again, I don't care if you think he's a nice guy or not, he's not suited for the job. That's the bottom line.
Well, to change
Gears.
things a little bit, we had a comment made on about our last show saying, you negative Nellies need to stop. The train's coming, choo-choo. Okay? And
Choo-choo, we got a Lionel train guy.
Yep, and I'll tell you now, the people have spoken. They said they want the train, and that's fine. But now you have to accept the outcome of what happens. So if your rent goes up, if your taxes go up, you've got nobody to blame but yourself.
And when this thing doesn't bring anything into the city in 5 years, except more money out of your pocket, you can take your choo-choo and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. We can accept anything we want, but we don't have to like it. This is America.
That's right.
I know you Dems don't like anybody that has a differing opinion, but you know where you can stick it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be another boondoggle, and I'll bet you money. So bring your choo-choo and your wallet, and we'll make a bet right here in front of the camera. Because this crap that these ribbon cutters are going to say about it's bringing businesses, it's bringing money, yeah, that's what they said about renaming it a gateway city. Now everybody's going to come because we called it a gateway city. Now everybody's going to come because we got a battleship for them to get off the highway to see. Now they're going to come because we've got derby horses for them to ride, a carousel. Oh yeah, we're going to have all the carousel aficionados. We've had a million things just like Detroit. So take your choo-choo, take a ride to Detroit and see how all this pie in the sky believing politicians, the checks in the mail crap worked.
Well, let me tell you something. The most recent article in the Herald News regarding the train, Mike Rodrigues said that this train is not going to be a magic bullet for Fall River.
Yeah, but nobody's
paying attention to that.
Nobody pays attention to that comment.
And they also took interviews from people who work in Boston currently who said they're still going to drive because it's an hour-and-a-half train ride and then it's a 45-minute bus ride from South Station to where they work. That's 2.5 hours. They said, if I'm going to drive that much time, I might as well just drive there. And they do. And they said maybe the train will offset some of the traffic, but other than that, they don't expect it to do a lot.
Train. I want to know if we're getting the $63,000 back for the parade.
Yeah,
and I will say one thing while we're closing. If this was before the election, they would have rescheduled that parade.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable.
Choo-choo.
We'll see you on Friday.
It doesn't go choo-choo.